Hey friends, so Chris and I are here getting ready for our Easter lunch. You can't do that on Easter Sunday. You have to start working on your turkey on Saturday. We have a brine that we put together, and we'd like to let our turkey go for like about 24 hours.
At least 24 hours.
At least.
If that turkey ain't brine, don't eat it. It's gonna be dry as I don't know what.
Listen, if you make a turkey and everybody passes it on the buffet, chances are you're not brining that turkey. Once we learned about brining, we have never turned back.
Definitely a game changer.
So here's a quick recipe that we use every time. It's easy, it's our go-to. So we start with 2 gallons of cold water. Then we're gonna add 3 cups of apple cider vinegar. We're gonna also put in 2 packed cups, pack is important guys, of brown sugar. And then you know you need salt, guys. We need 3/4 cups of kosher salt. Not regular salt, kosher salt. And then we have some tricolor peppercorns, and we like to use about 3 tablespoons of that. It does something beautiful. And then we have about 5 bay leaves, whole bay leaves. We just kind of keep those in the pantry, and they're a quick go-to. And then we're gonna throw in 5 cloves of minced garlic that Chris just chopped so great for us. And then, last but not least, we're gonna take the rind of 3 large oranges and we're gonna add it to the brine. It's gonna give it so much flavor.
So how did I do this? Did I use a pillar? No. I am the hack master. So that same potato pillar that I was telling y'all about a couple weeks ago, it's doing the same thing with these oranges or anything you want to peel.
Yeah.
And then babe, all we do is what? Let's just
toss it in there.
Drop that in there.
So no old school manual pillar. It's gonna be his potato hack, but you can also hack your oranges with that, people. We're gonna give that a good stir. Again, this is cold water. So now what we're gonna do is turn that heat on, and we're going to let the sugar, the salts, we're gonna all let that melt, kind of boil down together. And then what we'll do is let this come to a boil. And then once it's come to a boil, we're gonna cover it. We'll put a big lid on it. We'll turn the heat off and then allow that to completely cool by placing it in the fridge. This is our brine, guys. You can't go wrong.
So good, man.
It's so good. I don't know how I forgot to tell you about this, but you need 4 sprigs of fresh rosemary. This is so fragrant and it makes such a big difference in the brine. So I just threw in 4 sprigs of fresh rosemary, and it's gonna make it even better. Okay, friends, so we're getting ahead of our Easter dinner tomorrow. Today, I'm getting my greens out of the way, as well as a couple of desserts, because we don't want to be baking all day tomorrow either. So, what I'm doing is I am throwing maybe like 2 quarts of water and a quart of chicken stock. That's going to give it a lot of good flavor. I'm adding a tablespoon of what I call the baker's seasoning. I don't know where I picked this up years ago, but basically what I do is I make this seasoning mix and I just keep it on hand. It's got a cup of salt, a 4th cup of black pepper, and then a 4th cup of garlic powder. And you can just put that on anything. It's great to have on hand, toss it in, it does everything it needs to do. Okay, so we put a tablespoon of what I'm calling the baker's seasoning in there. I'm also adding a tablespoon of just seasoned salt. I'm just gonna say it. I like Lowry's, that's my go-to. And then I'm gonna add a few drops of Texas Pete. Use whatever hot sauce you like. I don't like things very spicy, so I pull back a little bit on that, but do you. You wanna love it. And then so once all this is getting mixed together, it's boiling, it's doing its thing. Look at this good old State Fair turkey leg, right? Who doesn't love a good turkey leg? So I'm gonna drop it in here. Just gonna use it kind of to stir those seasonings in a little bit. And then we're gonna let this go for about an hour. So once the water is boiling, you do all of this. Then cut it back to maybe like a medium-ish medium, maybe. Because you don't want it to boil, you just want it to make magic. So I'm turning my heat down a little bit. We're gonna let this go for about an hour. and it's gonna make the most beautiful stock. And then we'll throw the greens in a little bit. So the broth that we started making a little earlier with the turkey leg, the Baker House seasoning, a little bit of Lowry's has been going, and hot sauce for about an hour now. And so now is the time to throw in the greens. Now, as I throw these in, I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. These are already pre-cut and washed greens. If I have a lot of time on my hands, I will definitely buy the fresh greens from the produce section, wash them, cut them, do all of that. I do think that there is a different taste. I don't know, y'all might think I'm wrong on that. I enjoy my greens better when they are fresh from the produce section. But when you don't have time, this is a great shortcut and you still get the job done. Throwing these in, and then we're gonna let them go for probably about another 45 minutes. I cook mine low and slow. You can't go wrong that way, and it just gives the greens great time to soak in all of that broth. So our greens are all in, soaking up all this good broth that we just created this last 45 minutes to an hour. Now is the perfect time to put about a tablespoon. If you're like me, I'll put a tablespoon and a half of butter into the greens and just let that soak up in there as well. Again, we're gonna let this go low and slow for about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how tender you like your greens. Everybody's different. So do what works for you. That's just about my benchmark. Hey everybody, so I am getting a step ahead by making one of my desserts for Easter lunch today on Saturday. So it is a chocolate peanut butter pie. If you know us, you know that Chris and my boys, they love peanut butter. So this is such a great pie for them. They love it. So we're taking 25 whole chocolate Oreos. We're gonna pulverize them. Bear with me. That's good enough. So we have 25 Oreos crushed. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add butter to it. Just about like 4 tablespoons of butter or so. And this is what's gonna be our crust. So I already have the oven at 350 because we're getting that ready to throw all this in. So once you add your butter to your Oreos, let's just toss it a little bit. We're gonna toss it. Make sure that all the Oreos are coated good before we throw it into the pie pan and throw it into the oven. It looks good to me. Here we go. So quick and easy. I mean, this is the easiest crust. You can do this with so many other things too. You could do a great graham cracker crust. If you want to make a cheesecake, just same thing. Crush up your graham crackers, add your butter. My hands are clean, guys. I'm going in. You want to press it really, really firmly. Make sure it comes up on the sides a little bit. And it's gonna be so, so good. It smells good already, and this hasn't done anything yet. Okay, that's it. We're gonna back up, throw it into the oven real quick. Maybe for like 6 minutes, 7 minutes. Don't overdo it. At 350. There you have it. So now we're gonna jump on this filling for the chocolate peanut butter pie. I have a whole cup of peanut butter. Smooth. You definitely need smooth peanut butter for this. A whole cup of peanut butter. Get it all in there. You need every bit of it. And then we're gonna also add to that 8 ounces of cream cheese that has been softened. So make sure you pull this out before you're ready for it. And just let it get room temperature. That way it'll blend together a lot easier. Lock this bad boy in, and then we're gonna let it blend. We want it nice and creamy before we start adding the other ingredients. Okay, now that the cream cheese and the peanut butter is smooth and it's doing its thing, we're gonna add very slowly, guys, or you will have a whole big cloud of powdered sugar everywhere. We're gonna add 1.25 cups of powdered sugar. As carefully as you can, unless you want to wear it. Okay, we'll let that go for just a second. And I'm gonna grab Cool Whip. This is a 16-ounce container. I only need half of that. You only need 8 ounces for this particular recipe. That looks good. I'm gonna stop it for a second. I'm gonna add about half of this Cool Whip in there. This is what's gonna make this peanut butter pie have great flavor, but it's not gonna make it really heavy. It's gonna kind of keep it airy, which for me, I feel like that's the perfect dessert. Give me a lot of flavor, don't make it too heavy, especially after you've eaten a great Easter meal. You wanna keep it light. That looks good. Now we're just gonna work this all together. Everything is mixing, just pause for a minute, wipe down the sides of the bowl so that you're making sure that every ingredient is being incorporated well. Make sure all of it is coming down off the sides of the bowl too. And then let it go for another few minutes. So our Oreo pie crust is completely chilled. And now we're gonna take this yummy peanut butter, cream cheese, powdered sugar mix and just dump it right in. Oh, it's gonna be so good. Now, once you dump it in, you know, just gonna fill it up a little bit. And then what I like to do, just to make it a little pretty on top, more prettier because this looks really good to me anyways. I take just a little bit of the Oreos that I had earlier. I held a little bit back. We're just gonna top it a little bit. So there is no confusion as to what you are getting ready to get. This is an Oreo pie, peanut butter pie. So good. Now, again, now that I'm finished with this, before you serve it, I would say a minimum of an hour. You'd like to let that chill in the refrigerator. Because I'm busy today and I'm getting ready for Easter lunch tomorrow, I'm gonna let mine chill even longer than that and just cross my fingers and pray that none of the Baker boys try to get in here once I go to sleep tonight. There you have it. So I just pulled the turkey legs out of the greens because they have made such a contribution to the flavor. Now I just take a fork and just start deboning it a little bit. Because what we're gonna do when this is said and done is we're gonna take the turkey leg, chop it up, and throw it right back into the greens. So I'm gonna work on that for a minute. So I just finished deboning the turkey leg and it's looking great. I gave it just a rough chop because I want every bite of greens to have a bite of turkey in it. Just the texture contrast is really big for me, so I enjoy that. Right now, before I put that turkey leg back in the pot though, it's a good time just to check the stock, see if you like it, do you like the flavor. I just checked mine and I felt like I could use a tad bit more heat. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more of my Texas Pete. Here's another little shortcut that I love to death. Have y'all had this? Better than bouillon? This is so good. It's a great and a quick, easy way to build a great stock, and it takes no time. If you feel like it's lacking salt or you just want to bump up that flavor a bit, just take a teaspoon of that, drop it in there, stir it up. It won't take long at all just to start melting it with the stock you've already created. So I'm going in, guys, going in with my hands. We're dropping all this turkey right in these greens. And we're gonna let it simmer. I'll probably let mine go another 20 minutes or so. Toss it in there, mix it in. It's gonna be so good when it's finished.
What's up, good people? Okay, so we've taken our turkey out of our brine. What you want to do is you want to rinse it in some very, very cold water and then put it back in a pot for about 20 minutes so you can get all of that salt and the acid off. You want to get that off of your turkey. Once you've done that, you want to pat it completely dry. After you finish with that step, you want to put it in this fancy pan here that my wife knows the name of. I don't know the name of this thing. She just told me to put it in here, okay? Once you do that, this is a very important step. You want to get you a cheesecloth. Sometimes I call it cheesecloth, and she gets mad at me for that. But all I did was just took some butter. You can use salted or unsalted, it's your choice. You want to take it then, lightly rinse it. You want to make sure you get a little bit of that juice off because you don't want it to be too damp. Spread it wide, and you're going to drape it over this turkey. Okay? If you're a church person, it's like a good old prayer cloth when somebody falls out of the spirit. Okay? You want to leave some areas open there, and once it's draped over it, you're going to put it in the oven. Right now, I got the oven, it's about 325. And we're going to cook this. Of course, this is a breast, so we're going to cook this about maybe an hour, hour and 10 minutes, and then we should be done. Okay?
Hey, so I'm making a quick compound butter that I'm going to use for the turkey after we put it in and let it cook for a little bit. All I have here is 2 sticks of butter, and we have zested some orange, just kind of stripping this rosemary. I love rosemary. It's so good. It's so fragrant. And so we have 3 tablespoons of rosemary and then 2 tablespoons of the orange zest. And that's what we're adding to the 2 sticks of butter. As soon as I finish chopping this up, we'll put it in there, we'll mix it up, and it'll be ready to go.
Go ahead and
Put that on it.
put that butter with your hand. It's going to be very hot, but rub it all over.
So we're kind of at the halfway point. We pulled out the turkey. What I want to remind you about too is before I put the turkey in, you can do 1 or 2 things. You can put like a cup of chicken stock. You could put a cup of like a dry white wine, maybe like a Pinot Grigio in there. And when I tell you as it cooks, it's going to do something wonderful. It really is. So that compound butter we made just a few minutes ago. Guys, my hands are clean. I believe in clean hands and a pure heart. But your hands are the best way to just make this magic happen right now. We are taking this great mixture. It had that thyme, remember, that parsley, the orange zest, let's see, the 2 sticks of butter, and we're giving this turkey a bath. It's a butter bath, people. And it's gonna be so good. We're gonna do a little bit of this and then we'll put it back in the oven here in just a second, and we'll let it finish cooking. Your turkey needs to get to 165. My oven, I feel like, is a little aggressive. So I'm not gonna tell you like this long at this temp, for that amount of time. Just when you pull it out for the halfway point, put your thermometer in there. You wanna make sure it's 165. When it hits that, you wanna pull that joker out. You want to cover it in some foil and let it rest, because that gives you a chance to let all the juices redistribute back through that turkey. And if you don't cut it immediately, all your juices will run out on your chopping board and you'll have the driest turkey known to man. People won't come to your house no more, okay? So just remember that. Get all in this under here. So guys, I'm getting started on our dressing. I'm calling it dressing because I'm not stuffing it inside the turkey. You put it in the turkey, then I'll call it stuffing. Otherwise, we're just gonna call it dressing. I'm gonna melt a stick of butter. I'm gonna let that go, get ready. And then to this stick of butter, I'm getting ready to add a small fennel, which smells like licorice to me. Get a fennel and then cut it, dice it, and smell it. It smells like straight black licorice to me. But it adds such a very unique flavor to this dressing. I think you'll enjoy it. And I'm not a lover of onions, but listen, you can't cook without onions. So I have like a small, maybe a medium onion that I'm gonna put in here. And to be honest, normally if I have celery on hand, I would just dice 2 stalks of celery. But guys, we're quarantined and I don't have celery. So here's what I'm gonna do instead of that. I have some celery salt. So I'm just gonna add it to what I have going on already in here. I'll put like maybe a teaspoon and just see how that tastes to you. But we're gonna let this go. You need about 5 minutes to let this cook down. We'll come back in just a second. So our onions, our fennel, a little bit of celery salt because I didn't have celery, has been going for about 5 minutes in a stick of butter. It smells so good, people. I wish you could smell this. And now what I'm doing is I'm adding about 8 ounces of sweet, it can be Italian sausage, any type of sweet sausage you can get your hands on will be really great. I'm adding that, and then we're gonna let this cook down. It might probably take about 6 or 7 minutes, so I'll check back in with you in a minute. Okay, so our sweet sausage has been cooking for about 6 or 7 minutes. Now I'm gonna add to that 3 tablespoons of fresh parsley and about 2 teaspoons of thyme. Oh, y'all know how I feel about thyme, right? And we're gonna let this cook for just less than a minute, just to get in there. Oh, can y'all see this? It smells so good. Kind of smells like Thanksgiving to me. It smells like holidays. It smells like those meals that you just love to have surrounded by the people that mean the most to you. That's exactly what this smells like to me. Guys, I'm gonna put just a little bit of kosher salt in there. Because I didn't have that celery and I used celery salt, I'm gonna be a little conservative. I'm not gonna give you as much kosher salt as I would normally do, just because I'm gonna watch that salt content. And I'm just gonna grind some fresh black pepper in here. Again, just enough to make Chris happy. And then while that is doing what it needs to do, we're gonna deglaze this pan. And so here's your options for deglazing this pan for this particular recipe. If you wanna use a shot of chicken stock to help deglaze your pan, because those brown bits that you're gonna pull off the bottom of that pan is everything. We want that. That has so much flavor in it. You can put a little bit of chicken stock in there, or you can put a little bit of brandy in there. Saints, don't get worried. All that alcohol from the brandy will cook right out. Just make sure you cook it. Let it cook for a minute. Let all that alcohol burn out, but it's gonna give you such a flavor, I think you'll be really happy with. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. We're gonna let that cook out. So our sausage and veg mix is all done. I just dropped it into a mixing bowl, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add 2.5 cups of breadcrumbs, seasoned breadcrumbs for me. And then I'm gonna put a cup of low sodium chicken stock in there. And I think I like to use low sodium because I feel like it helps me control the salt content. If I wanna add more, I can add more, but I'd like to be in charge of that. I'm not a control freak at all, right? Okay, then I'm gonna add 1 egg. That's gonna help bind it just a little bit. And then lastly, I don't feel like it's, whether you call it dressing or stuffing, if you don't have some sage in there, it's not a holiday mix. So I'm gonna add just a little bit, maybe like a 1/4 teaspoon worth of sage. Oh, I wish you guys could smell this. Even more than that, I wish you could taste it. But you can taste it. If you'll just take some time, make this recipe for your family. I am beyond certain that you guys will enjoy it. So I'm gonna take it, throw it into my little pan. There's already so much moisture from the sausage and the butter, but I'm not even greasing this thing. I'm just gonna pat it down. And my oven is set at 325 already because of our turkey. So I'll just put it in there and just keep a close eye on it. But it's gonna be so good when it's all said and done. It's one of my favorites. You're gonna love it too.